Right. So that's the payment including taxes. So B, calculate the mileage cost after tax. So basically you need to figure out kilometers over, right, or past limit. And sometimes it's good to do a little bit of mental math. You know that you drove 64,000 and you're allowed this much per year. So even let's round this to 20,000, let's say, right? 3 times 20 is 60. You went over for sure, right? So you can go 64,000 kilometers minus 3 times 18, right? So that's 64,000. Oops, sorry, not equals, but minus. What is that? 54,000? No, is it? Yeah, it's Friday. I need to double check. Anyways, it's 10,000 kilometers over, right? 10,000 kilometers that were over. So the cost, like the mileage cost, like how much you're gonna have to pay is those. It's not $10,000, okay? That'd be ridiculous. That'd be a bit too much, in my opinion. But in this case, it's 12 cents per kilometer. So you multiply this by 0.12. So it's 10,000 times 0.12, which is basically just 1,200, right? So this is the mileage, and we're going to tax it. And we get 1,344 even, right? That is the mileage cost in this case, okay? That's why it's 2 marks, right? Because it's a bit more work involved. All right, C, calculate the total cost of the lease. Total lease would be your down payment, which is not taxed, right? Plus, you can actually take the payment already because this is taxed, or you just follow my formula, which calls for this times, in this case, it's 36 months. And we add the mileage, which is already taxed, right? So this right now will give you the total lease, including any taxes that may apply, okay? So 2,500 total payments. I get it out of that. And that's that much, 8,023.68. And then you tack on that. And that's 11,867.68. And you know what? Kudos to most of you, the dollar sign, right? Dollar signs were done well. Some of you, I guess, you were in a French class before. Your dollar sign is at the end. That's okay. I'm not going to sweat that. But as long as it's there. Also, please indicate your final answer somehow. You can write next to it, this is my final, or circle it. Because sometimes the province actually takes marks off if you make us guess the right answer. So some students, if they're not sure if it's before or after taxes, they'll give both answers. And we're kind of like, well, which one is it, right? Calculate the cost to purchase the car at the end of the lease after tax if the original value is this. The total cost to purchase only, right? So purchase is going to be 18,999 times, we're told is 60%, right, of that MSRP sort of, right? And all of that will be taxed. And because you can only lease through a dealer, so you can just imagine that it's going to be 12% every time. So let's find 60% first. That's 11,399.40. And we're going to tax that. And that's 12,000. Now I need my dollar sign, right, for my final answer. 33, that is. 8 bumps that to a 3, right? 33. And there you have it. That's the cost of purchase only, right? To purchase. If I could have asked you another question, right? What's the total cost of lease and purchase outright at the end? Then you would just add these two together and that would be your total, right? So that's leasing, folks. Read carefully, but really there's a pattern to it, right? Like just like everything else, there's a pattern. You just have to read and know what to do when, right? So if you wrote this down, that is great. That's right there in your notes. That's why I kind of wanted you to do it on loose leaf if you wanted another go at it and you had the space to fill it in, right? So if at the very least, write down the answers right now. If you don't have time to write down the whole thing, just right next to every question, write down this is A, there's B, C, and D circled, right? Then you know which one is which. All right, and then we'll do the finance at the back. Are we good? Does that make sense, guys? Yeah? All right. You're also excited about leasing. I would be too on a Friday morning and math. Whew. I feel for you guys. Francis purchased a Jeep Wrangler, there it is, for $36,750 after tax. So they're telling you that this price is already including tax. She saved up $6,750 for a down payment. The rest will need to be financed over 5 years at 5.75. She looked at her chart Mr. D gave her and saw that the table rate was, right, there's that table rate. You didn't even need your table for that. And so that's the one you're going to use for the payment. So determine her monthly payment. This is not leasing, this is financing. Don't add taxes to your payment, okay? Because the taxes are already in the amount you're borrowing, okay? So you don't want to double tax yourself. So payment is $36,750 minus the down payment if there is one. And then we multiply this by 1929 divided by 1,000. I will figure out what this is because you most likely are going to need it later on. Oh, that's just 30,000. Convenient, right? So on 30,000, you're going to pay this rate, right? That's what you're saying. That's what your loan is going to be on. And I'm just going to quickly go ahead and figure that out. And that's 578.70. Okay, make sure you have that zero in this case to get full marks. And then B, and determine total amount paid to the bank over 5 years. Total paid to the bank. You take your payment, your monthly payment that is, and you multiply that by, what did I tell you? Years, right? And the formula, I think it's years. And times 12. So this is total paid to the bank. So it's really 60 times 578.70. And that's 34,722 exactly. That's how much you paid them back, which should always be more than what you borrowed, right? You borrow this much, you pay this much back. So you can already tell over $4,000 in finance charges. So a lot of you ask me, what is finance charge? It's the total interest. It's in your notes if you go back, right? So if you want to use the formula again, let's do that just so we are reminded that that's what we can do, right? You figure out total paid to the bank and you subtract the loan from it. Because you really borrowed 30 grand, right? And then I'm going to borrow my answer from the previous line. And this is a beautiful mental math scenario, right? It's just $4,722 even. That's the finance charge. Because I'm not taking this in, I'm going to add something here because this is the one a lot of students struggle, okay? So let's say D asked you to fill in one of these bars. So we're going to do just draw one of these. And interest is going to be smaller than the principal. So if this is the principal and this is lowercase I, and this whole thing represents the payment, right? So if I asked you to fill this in, I could ask you to fill in something like this, or I can just ask you what is the interest of the first month's payment, or what's the principal of the first month payment, right? We know that the payment stays the same, and it's 578.70. Okay. How do I find this is what you need to find first. Lowercase I, you take your loan, you multiply by the interest rate as a decimal, which is 5.25. If I divide that by 100, I get this. You divide that by 12, and let's see what we get. It's 131.25. So this is what you say it goes in here. Okay, once you find that, you're saying that out of this payment of $578, so you're going to work hard for that payment, right? At first, you're not going to make a whole lot of money. And out of that payment, this chunk, the bank takes that. It's like, thank you very much, right? And the remaining amount actually goes towards paying off your loan. Okay, that's actually what's happening in the background. So how do we get this? To get the principal portion, we just go payment minus lowercase I. So you take your payment, 578. Some of you were calculating this and getting really high numbers, right? You were getting like 1,000 something for your interest. It's like, wait a minute, if your payment is 578, this should be less, right? 131.25. And that is 447 and 45 cents. Okay. And combined, they always give you your payment. So this also, the lowercase I is the first month's interest, right? That's only on the first month. That actually is going to change as time goes by. Are we good now? Yeah? Okay. Don't hang up right now, okay? Stay with me. I'm gonna talk about amortization tables real quick.